Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Lauren, and on this channel we talk about books, and today's video is one that I'm really excited for. I always enjoy doing videos like these. I have not done a video like this in a few months now, so I'm really excited to get back into it, and that is an anticipated releases video. We are going to be talking about releases that I'm personally excited about for January 2026. I do have 12 books on my radar this month, so without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. The first book that I have on my list is The Throne of Nightmares, which is book 3 in the Prince of Sins series. This book is coming out on February 10th, and it says, a prince who prefers games of the head than to those of the heart, a librarian who is all sweet sunshine until she burns, a twisted fate that means they can't trust themselves or their hearts. Prince Sloth hates leaving his enchanted library, but when a forgotten deity threatens the very fabric of the underworld, he's thrust into a race against time. He must find the Book of Nightmares, an ancient artifact that has the power to break worlds, before it unleashes a deadly game to free its master, the goddess of night. When a betrayal leaves him marked and desperate, his paths collide with a young woman who possesses the legendary Phoenix Tear, a portal stone and not unlike any other. Laura Brimstone has always loved getting lost in a book, but she never meant literally. Yet, after visiting a traveling caravan, she quickly finds herself transported to a terrifying but oddly familiar world, with a calculating prince at her side, realizing they are living out their favorite novels one by one. They face off against an increasingly dark magic as they try to survive the story. As Lore and Sloth navigate the pages of her beloved novels gone wrong, she must channel her inner main character to defeat the Book of Nightmares before the wall between the gods and mortals comes crashing down, dooming them all. That sounds like so much fun. It's like a fantasy story inside of a fantasy story. How exciting. The second book that I'm really excited about coming out this month is Agnes Aubert's. It's like Aubert. Aubert's, maybe, probably Aubert. Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter. This is coming out on February 17th, and it just says, a woman who runs a cat rescue in the 1920s Montreal turns to a grouchy but charming wizard to help save this shelter in this heartwarming, cozy fantasy. I think that sounds so cute. I love a good cozy fantasy, and we're actually experiencing some cold weather here in Texas, so what better time to read something cozy than when it's cold outside? The third book that I'm excited about is Wicked Onyx. This is going to be the first installment of the Everidis legacy. I could be saying that wrong. And let's be honest with ourselves, do I really need to start any more series this year? No, I probably have enough series to last my lifetime, but listen to this, it sounds so good. It says, in a ruthless magical academy, which I just love an academic setting, plus a magical one, yes. Where she's cursed and powerless, the last Onyx must unravel dark family secrets and navigate dangerous alliances to reclaim her legacy and make those who betrayed her pay. You don't graduate Nightbridge Academy, you survive it. Born into a sorcerer bloodline, cursed and cut off from power, I was accustomed to being an outcast. For generations, my bloodline carried the weight of a crime committed by our ancestor, but my mother's death changed everything. The Academy is a fortress of power, housing the most dangerous enchanters and sorcerers, conscripted to keep horrors and echoes at bay. And for whatever reason, horrors and echoes in the synopsis were capitalized, so I don't know if like clearly these are like possessive in some kind of way. I don't know how, but horrors and echoes are capitalized, so I think that means something deeper. And as the last surviving onyx, I'm owed admission. Ooh. My plan is simple. Find the book and expose the Imperium, which is also capitalized, as the liars that they are. But I didn't plan for the whispers that haunt my dreams or the complication of feelings I shouldn't be capable of, stirred by two men bound to the very institution I've came to destroy. One sees too much yet says too little. The other is steady, protective, and always in my corner. I can't have either, yet when I'm in their presence, my curse begins to crack. If they discover my true purpose, I'm dead. But some truths are worth dying for. The Imperium cursed my bloodline, stripped us of our magic, branded us as traitors, and now they will pay. That just sounds right up my little alley. Another book releasing on February 10th is Heir of Illusions. This looks like it's going to be the first installment of yet another series, The Varen Isles. It says an alliance between enemies, a weapon of untold power, and a bond that could rewrite fate. A fae assassin with the power of illusion, sworn to a king she despises. Ooh, so we have a female fae assassin. Love. An enigmatic Grim Reaper searching for freedom. Enemies collide in an unlikely alliance brimming with desire and destruction. Sign me up. Sign me all the way up. Book number 5 that I'm excited about is The Sun and the Star Maker. This is by Rachel Griffin. It is going to release on February 17th. I love Rachel Griffin's writing. She is a YA writer. Her books are more witchy based and they're like just very fantastical, but they also have like a deeper like a coming into your own self-discovery vibe to them. I have a great bit of her books on my shelf and I just think her writing, it's fun, but it's like deep in like a not like soul crushing way. You know, like the inner meaning of her books really show through while still being fun and whimsical and having like, I don't know, like the point of the story is deeper than like the funness that is her writing, if that makes sense. But this book, it says, nestled deep in the snowy mountains of the Lost Range, the small village of Reverie endures on a miracle. Beyond the reach of the sun, Reverie is dependent upon the magic of the mysterious Star Maker. Every morning, he trudges across a vast glacier and pulls in sunlight over the peak, providing the village with the light it needs to survive. Aurora Finch grew up on tales of the Star Maker's magic, never imagining she'd one day meet him. But on the morning of her wedding, a fateful encounter in the frostbitten woods changes everything. The Star Maker senses a powerful magic within her and demands she come study under his guidance. With her newfound abilities tied to the survival of the village, Aurora is swept away to his ice-covered castle at the mountain's peak. The Star Maker is as cold and distant as the dark woods, leaving Aurora to explore his enchanted castle with only an immortal rabbit for company. Yet the more she discovers about the sorcerer, the stronger their attraction grows, pulling her closer to the secrets he refuses to share. A deadly frost approaches, and Aurora must uncover what the Star Maker is hiding before she is left in an endless winter that even the sun cannot touch. It almost kind of has like Beauty and the Beast-ish vibes, while also playing on folklore a little bit with like the sun coming over the icy mountaintops and things like that. So I think that that's really fun and really interesting, and I definitely want to try to read it at some point this year. I think that sounds like a must read for me. Next we have Songbird of the Sorrows. This is another first installment of a series called Myths of the Imperios. This is set to release on February 3rd. It says an outcast princess turned Spy embarks on a mission to infiltrate a rival kingdom, but the secret she uncovers forces her to decide whether to follow orders or defy them. Ask no questions, obey your orders, respect your masters, but most of all, fall in love with no one. Spy, thief, Princess Songbird. Princess Aya was ousted from the Palace of Sorrows as a child, shattering her world and forcing her to abandon the truth of her royal lineage. Instead, she was raised in the Avery, which disguises itself as a school for orphan children, but is actually a secret order designed to train its students as spies for an intelligence network embedded throughout the Imperios. Ooh, this is like very Sarah J. Maas vibes with Throne of Glass. Having completed her final test, Aya is summoned to join Alpha Flight, the Avery's elite team of assassins that's led by none other than her former flame, Raven. Everything about him calls to her. He's brave, loyal, and lethal, but is Raven worth breaking the rules and risking everything she's worked so hard to achieve? Songbird of the Sorrows is the first book in the Myth of Imperios, an epic romantic fantasy series that follows a feisty heroine through trials, a perilous heist, court intrigue, kingdom politics, and a journey of self-discovery, true love, and redemption. I'm into it, for sure. The next book we have on the list is Cleopatra. This is set to release on February 24th, and the author of this is the same author of FABLE, Sarah L. Arifi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But I think we all know who Cleopatra is, but I will read you the blurb that the author is kind of like the vibe that we're going for in this Cleopatra retelling, if you will. It says, Queen legend Cleopatra tells her own story in this evocative and sensuous historic epic. Your historians call me seductress, but I was always in love's thrall. Your playwrights speak of my witchcraft, but I was gifted my talents by the gods. Your poets sing of my bloodlust, but I was protecting my children. They cannot credit that a mere woman would be powerful, strategic, divinely blessed to rule. Death will silence me no longer. This is not the story of how I died, but how I lived. I just think that sounds so fantastic. Next, we have Crown of War and Shadow, another first installment of a series coming out, and this one is called Kingdoms of the Compass. This is by J.R. Ward, and it is set to release on February 17th. And it says, an outcast burdened with a curse and a mercenary who's out for himself collide in this star-crossed, slow-burn, high-stake romantic fantasy. In the dead of night, passions rise and empires fall. Welcome to the Kingdoms of the Compass. The fulcrum is failing and demons are slipping into the mortal world, stalking the night. No one is safe, especially not Sorrel, an orphan and an outcast. She spent her whole life within the walls of her small village, ostracized for her magical abilities. She wants to survive and maybe find somewhere she can call home, but fate has other plans. She must cross the Badlands and return the queen's crown and convince the fearsome female to save their world from destruction. Sorrel makes a dangerous deal with Merc, a brooding, commanding mercenary known by his unscrupulous profession. But Merc has secrets of his own, and even though passion runs hot between them, enemies are around every corner, and danger and betrayal threaten at every turn. So that's another one that sounds really good to me. Clearly, like, there's like a theme here. I feel like we have a lot of like orphaned girls who are just trying to be badasses, and you know, I'm here for it. Next, we have A Secret in the Garden. This one is set to release on February 24th. This is book one in a series, but it's called The Dark Manor Chronicles. So I obviously don't know for certain, but I feel like even though the books are going to be in a series per se, they're going to be like standalone novels within like the same world. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I get from it. Some secrets were never meant to be unearthed. Perched on a widespread cliff, Blackwood Manor looms like a dark monument to a mysterious family. Behind the grand iron gates, one part of the estate has been left to rot since the tragic death of Hester Blackwood, the once glorious conservatory, now choked by vines and shattered glass. The rest of the family is gone. Only her brooding son, Jasper, remains, the heir to a weapons empire. Desperate to save her job and out of options, botanist Eliza Arnold makes a bold gamble: drive to the manor and beg the elusive millionaire for a donation. Jasper agrees on one chilling condition: restore the conservatory alone. No help, no leaving. But the manor is not empty. As Eliza battles thorns and secrets, a magnetic tension builds between her and Jasper, dark, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. And something else stirs among the roots and ruins: whispers in the walls, confusing disturbances, and a presence watching her every move. The deeper Eliza digs, the more she uncovers a garden of grief, longing, and desire. Because in Blackwood Manor, even buried things can bloom again. I just think that sounds so good. Obviously, we've got romance. We've got a brooding, dark, dangerous romance that's going to unfold here. But I think the plot line of we have a deceased mother, a rich family, a somewhat dilapidated mansion, and maybe like some haunting, paranormal, or at least something creepy going on in the house. I just think all of those things mashed together sounds really good, and this is definitely something that I will be picking up once it comes out, either physically or reading it on my Kindle or listening to it as an audiobook. Whatever, however I choose to consume this book, this is definitely something where I'm like, that sounds really good. So I'm excited about this one. Next, we have The Lies That Summon the Night. This is set to release on February 3rd, and it says, ever since art gave life to bloodthirsty shadows, creative works have been forbidden, and the talented creators sacrificed to the sinless, the immortal royals who feast on human blood in return for their protection. Okay, this main character's name is like a tongue twister for me. Inanna. It's like I-N-A-N-A. So Inanna. I think it's Inanna. Inanna's secret storytelling nearly got her killed once, and she'll be damned if she's ever caught again. With a bounty on her head, she keeps to the city's dark underbelly, where she earns a meager living from thrill-seeking patrons desperate to hear her illicit fiction, until Dominic, a Shadowbane, catches one of her performances. Dominic is a half-sinless monster hunter, as fearsome as his prey. But to complete his hunt, he needs an artist to summon the shadows. He needs Inanna. Dominic delivers an ultimatum: serve him or he'll claim her bounty. When survival is all Inanna has left, the choice is clear, at least until she can betray him and leave him for dead. As their tense alliance leads them into the heat of danger, dark secrets unravel about each other, their world, and the threats they face. But the greatest risk of all is the desire growing between them. Of course it is. There's something more sinful than lust at play, and it could bring the world to its knees. I think that sounds really interesting, like the idea that all art form can summon bloodthirsty shadows, so can summon, evil. I think that's a really interesting perspective on as art, as far as like paintings and sculpture and drawings and of course literature. So I think that that's I wonder how like strong of a focal point the art is going to be in this story, or is it just going to be running from the shadows, So I feel like this story has a really good potential to be kind of like thought-provoking, as well as like entertaining from like a fantastical standpoint. So I'm really interested to see what the author does with that idea and like how it's developed, but I really think that that concept sounds really interesting. The next book we have up is The Wicked and the Damned. This is book 2 in the Dark Inheritance series. I did read the first installment through Audible. I just love listening to audiobooks when the voice actors are English. It just makes the book to me so much more enjoyable. It's just like, it's more immersifying in my opinion, and so I will definitely be listening to book 2 on Audible as well. I already have it pre-ordered. That's how excited I am. I loved the first book. I thought like the beginning of the book was a little slow. Our character and world introduction kind of lasted a little bit longer than necessary in my opinion, but once we kind of got established and the story got to rolling, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, the voice actors were just phenomenal. You do get a male and a female voice actor because we do get both of their point of views, which is also something that I just adore. So I'm really excited for the second book to come out. The last book on my list is not a new release as far as like publication, but excuse me, we are getting a deluxe edition of this book, and it is Behind Closed Doors. It is the first installment of the Kept in Paradise series. Again, I think that these books are like, you don't follow the same characters throughout the series. It's just in the same universe. Again, I could be wrong, but that's like the gist that I get. But basically, we have a teacher who has a student, and this student loves this teacher. It's her favorite teacher. Well, one day at recess, bullets go flying, and this teacher finds herself wrapped up in this world with this student's father. The student's father is apparently like in the mafia, or we don't know. Based on the blurb, we don't know. But what we do know is that he's like, hey, you're my daughter's favorite teacher. These people now know who you are. You need to come stay with me. I want you to continue teaching my daughter, and you know, we're gonna pretend like we're one big happy family until everything settles down and you can go back to your normal life. Well, of course, while she's staying there playing nanny to this elusive, dangerous millionaire's child, feelings start to feel. So that's what this book is about. I feel like it's gonna be cheesy, but also very spicy. So I don't typically read books like that. I typically lean more towards like fantasy inside of my romance, but I read this blurb and I just like giggled to myself, and I was like, you know what? I think if I see it at Barnes & Noble, I'm not going to go out of my way to purchase this book, but I thought it sounded really cute. So if I happen to be at Barnes & Noble and I see this book and the price is right, I might pick it up. This is not a book, like I said, that I would go out of my way to purchase, but when I read the blurb on Goodreads, I was like, that is so ridiculous, but also kind of sounds good, you know? So I added it to my list just to talk about with you guys, because why not, you know? But that does conclude the books that I am excited about for February. If there are books that you guys know that are releasing in February that I did not mention here, that you think based on books that I read in my TBRs or books that I talked about right here today that you think I need to read and that I'm crazy for not mentioning here today, please let me know down in the comments. I'm always here for book recommendations. I'm always here to be notified about books being released, because it's totally possible I missed one. I only looked on like the Goodreads section of February releases, so it's completely possible that I missed a book that I just absolutely must read and I don't even know about it. So let me know down in the comments what you guys are excited about that is releasing in February. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. If you liked this video, you like this kind of content, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. I love anticipated releases. I love talking about new releases. I love buying new releases. So let me know if you guys like this kind of content too. That's really helpful. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.